now you've got different pillars of like marketing channels where you've got your organic, you've got your paid, and you've got your like non-digital, and all three of those make up your funnel. And so like those are important pillars to think about. But as we dial into just your organic, it's your Google business profile and it's your website.
Constructing your life is about much more than just building a bank account. Each week, join mindset coach Austin Linney as he interviews guests who are constructing their dream lives and impacting the world around them on a daily basis. If you're an entrepreneur or wanting to start a business, or you just want to hear motivating stories of how others have overcome the odds, you are in the right place. And now for your host, Austin Linney.
Guys, welcome to Construct Your Life. I don't even give the guys a plan. I just jump in here because that's how I like doing it. We got Zach and James in the house. How we doing, gentlemen?
Doing great.
So I was looking at both of your bios. You know, here's a problem. This word agency, I'm so confused at this point now, because now there's personal agency, but then there's an agency. And so, James, I'm going to start with you. What is an agency? I am so confused about this, and I have businesses. So,
yeah, I've been seeing some confusion go around Twitter lately too, right? Like, I think it is kind of a buzzword, right? To just be like, oh, it's an agency. I think digital, like, you got to qualify the agency a little bit, right? So I like to say digital agency often, right? Where a digital frankly, any agency to me is like a service you're providing another business. You know, it's like, and primarily done remotely. So like, you could almost think like in that vein, like a CPA could be like an agency, right? Or a law firm could be an agency, but they're like well known enough in terms of industries to be able to say, I'm a lawyer, I'm an accountant. So like what I do, right? Like digital marketing, right? We're a local SEO agency. There's a lot of qualifiers you have to put in there. It's just simpler to say oftentimes like, oh, I have an agency, right? I do services for another business and get paid for those services.
Okay. I love that. Zach, what about you?
I've always just thought of agency as like a company that has subscriptions. Maybe there's other agencies that don't, but I just think everything subscription based. Marketing agency we're just continually doing that service over and over again. But maybe agency just means company. I don't know.
Yeah.
Could be the same thing.
Well,
Could be the same thing.
The problem is all these people have run out of ways to sell their stuff, so they just jumble some words around. You know, like have y'all ever heard of Myron Golden? Have you ever heard of this guy, Myron Golden?
No, I haven't.
Okay. So there's a guy named Coach Burt and Myron Golden. So Myron Golden, I cannot listen to this guy and like he melts my skull. Like his stuff, people pay him hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars. He's $1 million mastermind. Like this dude sells on stage better than anybody I've ever met. And what I realized about these guys, why they're so good, I'm not saying they're not good at what they do. They package it better than anybody ever. The relationship to the idea and to the package, right? And so my issue with marketing, digital marketing, is that I just said this earlier on a podcast today. A business owner or somebody or a personal brand, the landscape is changing every week, if not every month. How is one person? It's impossible to keep up, and that's where I guess James, somebody like yourself, comes in. That's where really what I said to him was, my marketing company for my HVAC company, I'm not buying their expertise. They're very smart, but a lot of people can do that. I'm buying their trust. That's their trust. The trust in to give me the best advice possible. That's what I'm buying. There's a lot of people that can do SEO and stuff like that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I often like to say, SEO specifically is kind of a commodity, right? Like it's very simple. There's not like, it's not rocket science. You as a business owner could go out and figure out everything you need to do, right? Like I can tell everybody, like here's the steps we take. Here's what you should be doing. The challenge is, like you said, do you trust somebody to do it and do it well, right? Just because it's a commodity doesn't mean it's easy to do, or like you got to have systems in place, you got to have processes in place. There's a lot of digital marketing agencies out there that are just kind of crap, right? And like the industry can have a bad name sometimes because people get screwed and they assume, well, digital marketing didn't work for me. It's like, well, digital marketing works. It's like tried and proven. It's just whoever was doing it for you either wasn't doing it or wasn't doing it well, right? So like, even though it's a commodity, you brought somebody in that you couldn't trust, or like it was a bit of a facade. And so you got to, we sell these services,
So,
right? It's like you
jump
got
in
to
here,
break
Zach.
that barrier
What do you
of
think?
like cold outreach to like someone they can trust. Then you have to deliver, and then where you make a difference. So it's like the baseline, like table stakes is you got to just deliver on the commodity. And then how you differentiate yourself is what level of strategic thinking and critical thinking for a specific business and a specific business owner's situation can you provide as as a team or as an owner, because that's where you can make a difference. It's like you got an HVAC business, and I can sit down and say, okay, let's do some really competitive, like some real deep competitive analysis on your industry. What are some things outside of digital marketing that you should do? Like, I would consider myself, a borderline marketing expert in like all verticals of marketing. We just offer local SEO, right? I don't do paid ads. I don't do, mailers, but like that's stuff I know about. And like, it's all part of a marketing strategy. So I think the best agencies could like become almost like fractional CMOs. You provide the commodity, and then you become a bit of a fractional CMO, and you offer that level of service. And that's a great way to differentiate yourself. And frankly, you'll never lose a customer that way, because you're doing a great job delivering the service that should be just like everybody delivers baseline,
100%.
and you go above and beyond.
So Zach, you jump in here and you kind of feed off of that, because it's super important what he's talking about. You are basically a trusted partner when you jump in, and a lot of people don't realize that, because it's a lot of money, and it's money that I don't have, already as a business owner, that you're spending, and you're kind of you're taking a bet, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I always think about it from a sales point of view, because that's my career has been mostly sales. So from that point of view, a lot of clients come to us where they've been doing it in the past, but they're sick and tired of spending all their time on that thing. And so they're looking for an expert, and they're like, hey, we're going to hire you because we trust you. Like you said, we trust you. You'll be the expert. You'll do it better than we do it. And we're going to buy our time back with you. A lot of people come to us that way. A lot of other people are jaded, and they're like, we've had so many bad experiences with different marketing companies, and you have to show and build their trust right from the start. Here's why we're different. Here's what has been done incorrectly. Here's what, in this instance, you were overcharged a ton and they underdelivered. Here's what we do, and here's how we easily get you into our ecosystem. For example, I hate to do contracts. I hate to do startup fees. We just have monthly subscriptions to make it easy for them to come in, start building trust. And then once we've built that trust, any client we've had for 2 or 3 months, we generally keep over a year, over 2 years. Like, we keep for years and years, because that foundation of trust is built and we deliver. So there's little things agencies can do to set themselves apart and build that trust from the onset, which is what we try to do.
So let me walk you through a scenario how I am, right? There's a million things going on. We just opened a second location. We've got 15 projects going on. We're doing this whole thing. Here's the thing about me as a business owner. I don't need to have my hands on everything, but I see everything. And when people don't realize, it's like when something's off, I'll ask said vendor or whatever to fix it, per se. And if they don't fix it or follow through, then you're gone. Period. End of story. And so it's a delivery mechanism. You can tell me like, hey, we didn't do our best this month, but we can get it back next month. I'm going to give you the opportunity. But if I ask for our marketing company is a full-fledged marketing company. But if I ask why we're not number one against the jokers that are in our market, and we ever lose that space, you're done, because you have one job, right? And it's not like I'm driving a hard bargain. It's that I would ask the same out of my employees. I would ask the same out of myself. And I think that a lot of business owners, when it comes to vendors or third parties, whether they be suppliers, marketing agencies, social media managers, I think you hit it on the head. They're so jaded, and so they have so much PTSD from so many bad experiences that they just can't think of ever changing again. And that's what scares them more than anything. So when you're, Zach, I'll start with you. When you're building trust out of the gate, how do you do that in a 1 to 2, like step 1, step 2? Like, what is your plan of action with a customer?
That's an awesome question. So I coach a group of guys, and I like say this all the time, but you need to truly care and start by listening. So, so many salespeople, so many people, when they're trying to build trust, close a sale, they just start talking, start pitching. And it's like, they don't care what you're saying. They literally don't care. First, you need to become their friend, like in 5 or 10 minutes, truly understand. I tell everybody, have like 10 to 15 questions ready to go. So as you're getting to talk to them, getting to know them, and you don't know what to say next, you don't know what to go into, you have your questions ready to go to really dig in, to learn about them as a person, to learn about their business, to learn about their goals, to learn a lot about their employees, how many trucks they have, like what is their world like. The better you can understand their world, the better you can understand what they want to do. And then you can say, okay, here's what we do, here's how we can help. And the sale becomes easy because that trust is built. If you skip that step, if you don't listen really, really well, then you hardly make any sales. You hardly get any new clients as an agency because you didn't establish that trust, which is fundamental for an agency. So that's what I teach my group all the time.
James, how do you establish trust with a new customer when that comes to your business?
Yeah, I mean, Zach hit it on the head in the sales process, right? So I can talk like new customer, right? Someone signs up. The first 30 to 45 days is absolutely, honestly, frankly, the first 7 days is the most critical, right? Because it's like you just bought, it's like you buy something and now you have buyer's remorse, right? So it's like, how do you deliver on like the promises of the sales process, like right off the bat? How do you like go above and beyond? So, I brought a customer success manager into my business 8 months ago because it was like I was struggling to fill that role, and last summer we had some people cancel like pretty quick in that first month, and it was because I was dropping the ball. So like now our process is like within 24 hours of signing up, like you got an email that goes out to you right away, right? Like with like here's some steps to take, here's expectations, like you set expectations, and then we deliver above those expectations. So like I've got my CSM on a phone call with people within 24 hours. He's following up with them every single day, making sure they fill out the onboarding questionnaire, making sure they get us access to their Google Business Profile, making sure they get us access to their domain. Like we tell people, we're going to bug you, and we're going to bug you because you paid us to do this. You know what I mean? Like we'll call you every day, and you might say,
"You paid us."
Sorry, yeah, exactly. You paid us to do this. I'm like,
I love it. You paid us to do this. Hello, yeah,
totally.
So great.
Yeah, it's like if you don't want us to do this,
I love
we'll
that.
stop
That's
doing
so
it. Like
that's so good. Yeah.
So we do that right off the bat, and like it people really like that, right? Like keeps them accountable, and they're like, okay, these guys aren't like sleeping on me. They're like on top of things and trying to like make like I'm too busy to get them access, but they're just going to keep calling until they do. And then that first month is all about like setting expectations for what we can achieve and how we're going to do it. So we do some really in-depth keyword research around like what their services are, what their service area is. We figure out like baseline reporting, like how are you ranking right now in your area? And most of the time, like frankly, it's they're ranking poorly. Like it's like crap rankings because they've never really put money into this. That's a lot of the people we're working with is like their first time like putting money in to SEO. And then we just have to paint the picture of like, here's what we're going to do month after month after month after month. Some people, like frankly, it's like maybe an 8-month runway before they start seeing results because they've got no reviews on their Google Business Profile.
Yeah.
They're a new website. Like, and other people, we can get them results in like 30 to 60 days, like pretty significant because they've got 80 reviews or 100 reviews. They've been around for a while, just like their presence is crap. Like all of the low hanging fruit of like, you should be doing this and this and this and this. Your Google Business Profile should have all these data points filled out. You should have a citations campaign done. You got to clean up some listings. Like all of that is like really low hanging fruit. We get that done. And like overall, their general like authority on Google, like their presence on Google should be good. They just haven't checked the boxes. So those people can be a lot faster. And again, it's just, we got to tell people what to expect, and we can't overpromise. We try and underpromise, because if you overpromise and don't deliver, people get pissed, and you lose a little bit of that trust.
Yeah. You know what Americans hate more than anything? I learned this in the Airbnb space for many years. They hate being surprised. They don't like it. And so if you set expectations up front and you under-deliver, I don't know if you learned that from Alex Hormozi, what you said, but the two greatest lessons I ever learned from Alex Hormozi was this. When somebody spends money with you, give them a win in the first 24 hours, period, in a story, okay? Then the second thing he told me is the farther they get away from the product being delivered, the worse the review gets. And what he's saying is, let's say you're coaching somebody and you don't ask for a review in the first 2 weeks, 3 weeks. You've changed them so much and you've gave them so much success, they think internally they could do it for themselves. So that's why you have to ask for a review. We put one step in our business. One. The office calls back the day after an install and asks if everything was great. Did we collect final payment? Done. That has taken our callbacks and bad reviews down to almost nothing. That's one. It's a 1 minute phone call, and then we don't have to worry. Are they out there? Are they upset? Were tools left behind? Were you happy with the service? Was it clean? Like, it's really not that complicated, but we're running around as business owners, and we're not paying attention to the thing. It's execution of feedback loop. My joke with the business is you have this whole business, right? I got guys down at the airport. I got guys over there. I got the old seller working on a project. That's a whole nother story. I've got dudes over here in this county. And my understanding of my business is a 2-sentence review. That's the metric that I can understand my business for. Like, that is so, but that's the truth, because I don't touch the day-to-day as much as my CEO does. So I get bits and pieces of information. So when a review comes back and it's not good, you're going to get hammered by me, period. Because that's all I have to go off of. Yeah, the P&Ls are great, but that's revenue. Who cares, right? But what I found, though, is my other feedback loop, which is my favorite, is my monthly meeting with my digital marketing team. That's a great meeting to be a part of, to understand that. Zach, when you're sitting down with a client, and let's say they're looking to hire a service, they're a business or a personal brand, what are the first, let's call them pillars? What are they? What are you after executing for that customer?
The thing that every business owner cares about is how many calls they're getting. Like, is their business growing? Are they getting more calls, or are they getting less calls?
Yeah.
And so if they're getting less calls, they're unhappy. If they're getting more calls, they're ecstatic, and they're like, Zach, your company is the best. Like, I'm gonna leave you a review. I have this hilarious guy. He's like, he does investigations, like private investigations, and the dude's like, his business is exploding, and he just, like, without me saying anything, he'll call me, he'll text me like, I don't know what you guys are doing, but I freaking love you guys. And that's basically what they care about. If their business is growing, then they love you. If their business is not growing how they want to, then they're like, dude, what the heck's going on? And if that's the case, and it's like, okay, here's exactly our plan. Here's what we're doing. Do you have a review system in place? Do you have content you can share with us? Because we can do everything, but what, like, you want to grow faster? Get us pictures, get us videos, give us content to use, and that helps too. That's how I look at it.
James, what about you?
Sorry, we're talking pillars, like in the sense of,
yeah, like, so I come to you, I'm a business owner, I'm hiring you right out of the gate. What are you looking at for me to get going?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest things for us are Google Business Profile, right? Website, and those are the two pillars, frankly. Like, what's your Google Business Profile look like? What's your website look like? And then all of the other stuff is kind of just in the details, right? Like, we do, when I mentioned, we do citations, we do we do backlinking, right? We'll put content up. Like, I don't really do much with socials because I just don't think they matter much for most of the businesses I work with. But like, what's your Google business profile doing? What's your website doing? And most of the time, the website needs to be rebuilt. It doesn't necessarily need to be rebuilt, but like we rebuild them because it's easier for us to do that than to adopt a website with like technology we don't have systems and processes for. And the websites aren't like, it's not like somebody put tens of thousands of dollars in their website. It's like most of these websites are like cheap websites. So most of the time we're rebuilding the website and we're going in and just like completely cleaning up that Google business profile. And from a local SEO standpoint, like it's a different story if we're talking paid ads and we're talking, like if I was going to be a full service agency and I've like gone down that path and just don't want to do it, like, well, now you've got different pillars of like marketing channels where you've got your organic, you've got your paid, and you've got your like non-digital, and all three of those make up your funnel. And so like those are important pillars to think about. But as we dial into just your organic, it's your Google business profile and it's your website.
I love it. So now we're going to flip it around and we're going to do something different because both of y'all are very passionate about something else. It's still the same, but different. You love serving your customers, but both of y'all, I've noticed following your content, want to show other people how they could do this job. And if I'm not mistaken, which one of y'all started this as a side hustle? Both of y'all? Or was it one of y'all that started it as a side hustle?
Technically both of us, right, Zach?
Yeah, we both. Yeah.
Why don't you tell me that story and kind of, I'll let y'all both share your story.
Yeah, I can go first. So I just had like a job for this public company and always wanted to own my own business. James and I, 5 years ago now, started like a little software company to help local businesses get reviews. And as we built up that client base, more and more people asked, like, hey man, you guys are doing great there, but like, what about my website? What about this? And we're like, oh, we don't do websites. We just have this review software. But over time, as more people asked, I was like, you know what? That's a good opportunity. And I paid for this course and learned how to build sites, learned how to do SEO, added that skill set, and then started my own digital marketing agency and started acquiring clients while I had this other full-time job while we were building this kind of review software on the side, and started stacking up clients. And pretty quickly I realized this is the fastest way for me to quit my job, because if I can stack monthly recurring revenue, it's like I'm creating a salary for myself. That's why I love the agency, or like digital marketing agency, is I'm essentially an employee for all of these other companies with a smaller than my salary, but those stack up. Every $500 a month, whatever it is, $1,000 a month deal stacks up until you replace your salary. And so I did it on the side for a while, and then I was making enough, quit my job. And once I went full time and started building a team around me, that's when we were really able to scale with offshore talent. I love hiring in the Philippines. So as I've grown, just naturally what happens is everyone starts asking you, dude, how did you do that? What's going on? Like, you're crushing it. How? And so from friends and people and all these people asking, I was having all these conversations over and over. And I was like, dude, I'm just going to film myself doing the whole business and give it to some friends. Gave it to some friends. And then like they started taking off and more people kept asking. So I kind of formalized it into a legit course. And now I just love helping people, quit their jobs, hit 10,000 monthly recurring revenue.
Sure.
Because for me, if I add another 10,000 monthly recurring revenue, it's like, who cares? Whatever. Not a big deal. When someone goes from 0 to 10, that's life changing. So that's what pumps me up when I'm able to help someone hit 10,000 a month, monthly recurring revenue, quit their job. Like, it sets them and all their employees, like, it just creates a whole new area of value. So I love doing that.
So all that's great, and I love that you want to help people. But what I want to talk about is how was that day of walking out of that corporate job, that last day? How did that feel? Was that like a true here's my fucking badge, and you were just like that ride home? What song did you listen to? And did you have the windows down? Was it like Tom Petty? Like, did you have some Tom Petty going and just be like, dude, this is amazing?
Well, I've never been in jail, but I almost feel like I had handcuffs on and then they were just ripped off. And I was like, freedom. Because the biggest thing was getting my wife on board,
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah. Whole
it was,
ton of yeah.
she was like, no,
That's the
you got
hardest
to keep
thing.
insurance. You got to keep your job. And I was like, look, this job, I'm going to have to make 100 cold calls a day and have this salary. What if I made those cold calls for my company? It's small, but what if I did it for my company? When
Mm.
she got on board, I quit that same day. And it was like off to the races to not get another job, because if we dropped one client, we
Yeah.
didn't have enough money, right? We had to stack the clients, so I didn't have to get another job.
Dude,
And there was just fire.
True
underneath.
story. Anytime I hire somebody, I'm hiring somebody this morning, and I'm hiring somebody like next week. The first thing I do is ask about the spouse. Where are we at? Like, is the spouse gonna let like this kind of play out, or do we have an issue? Because like it's like I can get the young guys to run through a brick wall, but because like my joke is I would Airbnb my car if I had the option. Like it doesn't matter to me. Like I don't care where I'm at. But you have to make sure, okay, well, the wife's got a good job. We're good. You can do this thing. We're going to ask you to take a pay cut. Like people don't, as a business owner, that's where you got to get to. Because I mean, my fiance came to me and she was like, I think I'm going to get a job. And I was like, no, you're not. I was like, because then if we want to travel, we can't just leave. And she goes, what are you going to do? I said, I'm just going to go get another client. And so I just got another client, and I was like, you don't have to take a job now. And she's like, you're comfortable with that? I said, yeah, totally. Because now I love to just pick up and go. So like, I was like, no, I don't want that, So, but James, tell everybody your story and how you started this.
Yeah, I mean, Zach and I have similar stories, right? He mentioned like we were business partners years ago. We probably weren't the best business partners, but we're really good at building alongside each other. It's like as soon as we decouple, like we both have decision-making power in a business, we're a lot better at working together. So yeah, I left that company that we had started, after a year or so, moved down to Texas. And I was in a 9-to-5 corporate job doing like software portfolio management for a health system. And that was like, I'm not kidding you, that was a killer job. If anybody wants an industry to go into there, they can just crush it with like hustle and like grind. Healthcare IT is it. There's just like not enough young talent in healthcare IT, and like you can make a ton of money in healthcare in the IT side of things, like the tech side, working for providers. So I had a great job, like phenomenal people, great mentors. I think I almost doubled my salary in 3 years there, right? Like barely out of school, you know what I mean? Like that's crazy in like a corporate job. But it just like wasn't doing it for me, I'm like, I saw the path, right? I'm like 10, 12 years out from being where I want to be in terms of earnings. And I'm like, I'm driving to Dallas 3 times a week, right? It was like a 45-minute commute, or more, right? On the way home, it was like 45-minute commute. It just like wasn't for me. I learned about buying businesses, right? So like you bought this HVAC company. Like I learned about ETA 2.5, 3 years ago now, probably. And
how'd you find out about it?
A brother-in-law. Yeah, brother-in-law called me up and was like, oh, I'm buying this tool shop. I got this tool shop under contract. I'm like, what are you talking about? You got a tool shop under contract. What does that even mean? And he's like, well, dude, read this book. Like, go read this book, buy then build, and like you'll understand it.
It was over.
It was over, dude. I'm like, this is a no-brainer.
I read the first chapter. And this is the only verse I heard. It was 2 sentences. 84% of businesses that start fail. 84% of businesses that you buy that have 10 years succeed. I was like, put it down.
Done. So I was like all in for it. Let's talk about spouses for a second. My wife's amazing, like absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to her. She like puts up with all my stupid ideas all the time. And so she probably was like, oh, I want to buy a business, like in one ear, out the other. And then one day I came up and was like, hey, I'm gonna put an offer on this golf course. Like, how fun would it be to buy a golf course? And she was like, it was probably a terrible deal. It was off biz buy sell, right? It was probably awful deal. But I knew nothing and was like, this could be so fun. Yes. And I'm like, I'm going to put an offer in. It's $5 million. And her eyes like got big. And she's like, I want you to get an MBA before you buy a business. And I was like, okay. And I don't know how much you guys know about MBA admission cycles, but generally you'd apply like in the fall for the following year. And this was May of 2022, right? And I'm like, I'm not waiting 18 months to go to school. So I called up BYU. I did my undergrad at BYU. I called them up. Their application deadline had like just passed. And I called them and was like, hey, I want to come get an MBA this fall. Like, I know the deadline passed. Like, what can I do? And they let me submit an application. I like went and took a test like 2 days later and got in for the fall. And we just like up and moved to do an MBA. And so that I'm like, let's do it. I'm like, if you want me to do it, I'll go do it right now.
You do have a great wife. Good
I do
Lord,
have a
that's
great
amazing.
wife.
Yeah.
So I started the MBA program, and first semester was busy. Second semester, I actually had a business under contract that first semester, and it ended up falling through. And I realized, like, man, financially, I'm not in as good a spot to buy as I need to be. And so I'm like, I'm gonna stop focusing on buying right now. Like, I got to finish this program, and I got to find a way to make money. And so I started my agency right in February. And Zach had been on me. Zach was like, dude, you got to do this. Like, you'd be good at it. Like, you got to do it. And I'm like, okay. So February came around, I did it. Interestingly enough, and I won't go into the details of it, but I had to get a HELOC to buy that business I had under contract. And so I had to go back and get a full-time job to get the HELOC, because you have to have a W-2 to get the HELOC.
Yeah.
So I get the job, right? Like the timeline of this was like business under contract. I get the job, I get the HELOC, business falls through, but I'd committed. I went back to where I was working before, and like I had great relationships there, but I'd committed to doing it through the end of my MBA program. And so now I'm like, well, freak, the business fell through. I started my agency, and I have a full-time job, and I'm doing a full-time MBA, like a little over committed here. And so I took the summer. I worked full-time remotely for that company in Texas, built my agency up. And then in the fall, right, so it was about August, I was making significantly more money through the agency than I was at my full-time job. It was just bogging me down a little bit. I was going to go back to school. And I approached, my buddy there that had taken care of me. Because again, my wife, bless her heart, was like, you're not leaving. You told them you'd do it through the end of your program. You're not leaving. And I'm like, oh, come on. Like, she's like, no, you're not leaving. And so I had to call him, this buddy that got me back, and he released me from my obligation. And so I could go quit. I quit the next day, I'm like, he gave me his blessing. He's like, look, you're going to burn bridges, not with me. You're not going to burn bridges with me. I understand, but you're burning bridges here. But it's okay. Like, you don't owe me anything. And I'm like, all right, cool. So I quit the next day and haven't looked back.
And you're still in the MBA program right now?
I just finished, graduated like 2 weeks ago.
Dude.
So full time.
Wow.
Full time in my agency.
You know what's crazy, man? Dude, what's crazy is you remind me of somebody, one of my best friends. So I met this guy when I was 22. He was a drummer in a band. He was from Venezuela. He had 3 jobs, and he was going to school for his master's, right? He worked for Goldman Sachs. His wife is a doctor. They spent the first 6 years of their marriage apart, New York and Texas. And then now he manages $5 billion for the University of Texas, part of their fund. And what I think about him and what you just described, your story, is that a lot of people say they want it, but most people don't want it, right? I had never been to Pennsylvania until I bought this business. I had never seen a furnace. I didn't even know what a furnace was. I'm from Texas. There's an AC on the ground.
Yeah, you don't have furnaces in Texas. Yeah.
It has heat and cold, right? I don't know. But we're in the middle of nowhere, because I know that if I keep my head down for such and such years, I can go do whatever the fuck I want to go do later on in life. Yeah. And that's what people don't understand. I'm never going to have one business. I look at y'all's businesses, and what you don't know about me, what I have not shared publicly, and I'm reluctant to even share it in the first place, because if I do it, then I have to really do it. But I have dreamed my entire life. There's the first business I ever wanted to start was a media company, and not in the context that you think. It's a media company in the lifting up of CEOs and leaders of businesses in a educational back, like they're giving it away. They're helping young people. They're sharing their messages, and that's what I will start. And I look at a business like y'all's, and I go, if I was a young person, that to me, unlike buying an HVAC and plumbing business, which is great, it's still kind of in 1980s, most of them. If you want to stay on the forefront of business, it's the digital side. And so this is a great way, because your business is the same reason why I think an accounting business is a great business to buy. Your business is needed for that business. So if you're a digital marketer, you can buy that first and then buy businesses like mine.
Yep.
And now you can supercharge it. Here's what's crazy. One of our business owners, he started an HVAC business 16 years ago. He was the first person ever to use Google AdWords in Texas, ever.
Really?
And
he's probably paying like a penny a click.
The person he hired was so bad he started a marketing company. Now he has since sold the HVAC business. He's involved in our business. And I got to thinking, oh my God, that's so smart. He had the footprint to supercharge his HVAC business and plumbing business because he owned the fucking lighter fluid on the front end, and he stayed up with all the changing things. You know, I don't think people think about, when you get into home services or whatever the business is, these accounting business or the digital marketing agency really can be such a, I mean, honestly, now that I'm saying it out loud, fractional CMO for equity.
Yeah. I mean, you got the playbook. It's a playbook, dude. Go ahead, Zach.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, I was just saying, the cool thing too is I think younger people always think like, oh, I'm in college. What am I passionate about? What do I want to do? What do I really want to do? And I was the same way for a long time. And it's not that I'm super passionate about, digital marketing, but I realized that was the way for me to quit my job. And once I quit my job, now I own my time. Now that I own my time, I can do and build whatever I want. Like you said, you have this dream to help youth and bring CEOs messages to them. Like, I have similar dreams. I want to lift people, help people, get free content that's really quality content out to people to start businesses, to build businesses, because of that freedom it creates. I want to see thousands of people make that transformation from wearing the handcuffs to owning their own business. And that transformation is life-changing. So I want to be a part of that for as many people as I can. But I'm able to do that because I've built a business with recurring steady revenue to give me the time to do that. So sometimes you just got to grind, get out of your job, buy back your time so that you can do what you want to do, your big vision, your big mission for your life.
Love it.
Yeah, Zach's got to be way more altruistic than me. I know he is, and he's hyped about that stuff. Where frankly, if I'm
watching both of y'all, this is like, over here we got James. This is Gary V to a T. This guy is in that dirt. I mean, in the dirt. He is a fucking machine. See,
he's a baller. It's true.
James will outwork anybody. He don't give a fuck.
Wait, you can't let up.
He'll outwork anybody.
This is the first time. Yeah. I just finished the MBA program. This is the first time I don't have two jobs at a time, right? Whether it's a business and a job or first time ever. And I'm I just have to keep piling stuff on, because if you get soft, it's gone. You can't get soft, And so that, honestly, I'm not kidding you. That's what the course is about. I'm I'm going to put a course together, and we got a killer beta group for this course. We launched a beta, we sold it with no course built, I'm okay, I could go sit down. I could build a course for I could take a month to build a course. And instead, I'm well, let's just go launch the course. We got 14 people in. We had a pretty good payday. If that not killer, right? But good payday. And now I'm I'll go build the course now. And so now I'm okay, digital marketing and a course. And I'm never going to be the guy that's I'm a course guy. I saw somebody on Twitter that was oh, these courses are the worst. And people are selling courses as they got rich off this thing, but really they're just getting rich off the course. And I'm no, for me, it's about making money. And yes, I love the idea of helping people open their eyes. My eyes were opened to entrepreneurship through acquisition. And in the MBA program, they were opened to having a $100 million vision versus having a $10 million vision. You just have to have your eyes open to things. And somebody's going to open my eyes to $1 billion vision, right? And I'm maybe that's too much. And I'm I don't need that, but somebody's going to open my eyes to
the
it.
the greatest thing I ever heard on a podcast. I love Andrew Wilkinson. I've met him in person at Main Street last week. I've studied. I've listened to his stuff. He said he was at an event where there was a guy worth $3 billion and there was another guy worth $22 billion. And the $3 billion guy said, well, fuck. I mean, he has the plane that I don't have. And Andrew goes, excuse me? He goes, you can buy anything he can buy. And he realized in that moment, it doesn't matter how much money you have. There's always somebody in front of you.
Yeah.
And right. And so for me, it's jobs. Like, you got to understand, I spent most of my 20 years in hotels and hospitality and selling wine. And I spent all my life hoping that somebody like me now would be sitting on the other side of that bar and go, you know what, kid? I see something in you. Come work for me.
Yep.
That's the opportunity I want to give. That's it. And wherever that leads to in the scale of the business, I know where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
But that is more about the job count, and we'll let the revenue stack up where the revenue needs to be down the road, right? But we have a 50-year business plan that's built out the whole thing, and middle school, high school kid incubation group with all my friends where we fund their businesses. Like, I got this whole thing mapped out to a T, right? But in my opinion, and James is going to love this, I'm talking to my business partner the other day. We've dreamed our whole life of having a lifestyle business. I'm president of the company. I'm very busy. I have 2 podcasts, 5 companies. I have coaching clients. I'm a very busy person, okay? But we realized that we waited our whole life to create a lifestyle business, and now we're bored shitless. So we're going to go start a business, not for revenue, but something to keep us engaged in the dirt so we never lose connection with the grind.
Yep. You can't lose it, dude. And I mean, I like, honestly, I probably should have more hobbies. Like, I learned to ski this year and that was fun, you know, but I've just never had the money to like go do all these hobbies. Like, I'm like getting better at golf, but you can only do so much of that.
Yeah.
And frankly, like, I've got 2 little girls and like, I want them to see me get up and go to work every day, because I don't want them to think we live a lifestyle where we don't have to work. And like, and have that be embedded in their mind. Like, they should be seeing me leave the house every morning, right? Like, it's good for my wife. So I have an office space. Zach has an office space too. Zach inspired me to get one. And it's like, I have an office space because it's like, I should leave the house, right? It like gives my wife an opportunity to be a stay-at-home mom with our kids and not like lean on me. So like, she's getting stronger and like building up that's like the grind. And then my kids get to like see me leave and come home. And it's like, what did dad do all day? I don't know what he did, but he worked, you know? And sometimes I golf, but I like to say golf is working, you know? You go with the right people and you can call it working.
Hold on. Before you talk, you got to hear this quote. So it's my favorite speech of all time. I've probably listened to it 50 bajillion times. It's called the wisest man I ever met was a 3rd grade dropout. And his dad leaves every morning at 3:30 or 4:30 in the morning, every morning for 30 fucking years. 3 brothers. And one day mom asked, why do you leave every morning at 4:30 in the morning? And he says, I hope that one of my sons catches me in the act of excellence.
That's cool.
What were you going to say on that What were you going to say on that topic, Zach?
Something that comes to mind is exhausted but satisfied.
Okay.
That's like something that always comes to mind. Exhausted but satisfied. When you're going, think about the times you felt the most satisfied, you felt the happiest in your life. It's after an intense period of grinding. I went and served a 2-year mission in Brazil and served and taught people about Christ and worked so hard for 2 years. That flight home, I was so satisfied, so happy. I did summer sales, grinding for 100 days, selling, knocking doors, over 100 doors every day. At the end of that, so satisfied, so stoked on life. So it's after the grind that you have your highest highs, because it creates that environment where you can be grateful for what you accomplished. So
I love that. James, if people want to find out about you, they want to track you down, how would they do that?
Twitter. I'm trying to be better on Twitter, or X, I guess. So it's just, @ James Lincoln, and I'm on LinkedIn and everywhere else. But yeah, I still, I'm happy. I connect with everybody I can connect with. If people want to have a conversation with me, like I'm having conversations with people because that's like the place I'm playing in right now. It's just talking to everybody. So hit me up.
I love it. That's it. Zach, how about you?
Yeah, Twitter username's at Powell Zach. Same for YouTube, Powell Zach. But dude, Austin, I gotta hear you were comparing James to Gary Vee. What's my comparison, dude?
Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins. Zach is a good
Dude,
Tony
dude,
Robbins.
See,
wow.
see, if you and I, here's the problem. If you and I were in person and we got going and we started talking about our visions, everybody in the room would disappear. Because that's how big our visions are. Look, James is sitting saying, I don't BS. It's there, but he wants to earn it first before he generates the big vision, right? The thing is my job in my company is to create the big vision. That's what I do. I'm the tip of the spear. And so I go in and soften up the group and acquisition and recruit the employees and brand in the new area. Like that's my thing. I'm going to the Chamber of Commerce on Friday. They send in this guy first to kind of like set the tone for who you're going to meet in the company, right? Zach, I could see you leading people at a high level, but large groups of people, right? And that's why I get the Tony Robbins thing is that you could command a room, right? So
that would be amazing. Tony Robbins is the next level. That guy's phenomenal.
But you know what they do so well, right? Those guys, I've studied all of them. Jim Rome's my dude. They don't allow you as a person to stay below what you think you can be at. That's number one, right? It's an injection into the veins that there's more. You know what I tell every employee that comes to work for us? I told him this morning on the phone. Everyone. He messaged me on Facebook. I said, I'm just letting you know you're going to run out of air the first couple of weeks with us. And he was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I go, the oxygen's different with us. He goes, what do you mean? I said, we moved quicker than you've ever seen. The mission's too big. I was like, you're going to feel like you can't breathe the first 3 weeks. That's okay. Because if you survive after that, then we're good to go. Right?
That's true. The more I've invested in high quality coaching, the more they're just like, what the heck are you doing down here? And it's unacceptable. This is the minimum standard. To be around me, you have to be at this level or else you're kicked out, and they'll just kick people out of their groups. And I'm like, freak, dude.
The number one thing I see with people, it just happened, a client that I'm coaching tomorrow. He's got plenty of money. Quit his job. Wife makes plenty of money. He's doing some low rent bullshit task in real estate because he thinks that's where he has to start. And I go, hey, bro, you got a couple mil and you're 46. You don't got to flip a house. You're the bank. And he was like, oh, you mean I don't have to like start there? I'm like, no, dude. Like, you're good. Like, you're retired. Like, no. And he was like, oh, different, same guy, different coaching client. Started flipping houses. This is one of the best surgeons I've ever met in my entire life, and he's flipping houses. And I go, you make $3 million a year. What the fuck are you trying to eke out $20,000? I said, do better. Go bigger. You know what he did? In 6 months, he bought 400 units. And I'm like, dude, there you go. I'm like, there you go. That's when people switch professions. They think I got to get under here. I'm not saying you don't need to learn it, but wherever you're at, if you meet me, wherever you're at, I'm going to double your goals the moment I meet you. Period. End of story. Doesn't matter. Whatever that is, if you tell me your goal, I'm going to double it. And then I'm going to double it again. And it's not for the fact that you need to hit it. It's for who you become in the process to get there. Right? And that's what is exciting about, the quote about Jim Rohn. I didn't want to be a millionaire because that's what I needed. I wanted to be a millionaire for who I would become to be able to make $1 million. And that's what people don't understand. It's not about the dollars. It's about what it pulls you to do.
Yeah, when you become that type of person, it's just a result anyway. That's pretty
Exactly.
killer.
It's what's his name? Jesse Itzler talks about he's never actually ran a race on race day because he's ran that race 100 times beforehand. So it doesn't matter, right? And
Just who he is.
Well, I love that. And Jay-Z
Jesse
said
Isler.
everybody. Yeah, Jay-Z. He said everybody. Jay-Z said everybody's trying to emulate who I am now, and nobody wants to emulate who I had to become. Like that's what people. It's like we've got it all twisted. We're focused on the wrong stuff. But I could go on for hours, guys. It's so great to have both of you on. Thank you so much for your time, and I really appreciate it. And guys, if you like this episode, send it around to a friend, and we'll see you next. Guys, let me take a minute to tell you about my buddies over at Lead Hub, Ben and Aaron, the best humans I know. Not only are they amazing at marketing for trade companies, but Ben started his HVAC company in his garage, sold it for multi-million dollars. So when this guy talks, I listen. When we took over Dietz Mechanical, we had 22 reviews in 22 years. In 7 short months, we went from 22 reviews to 107. We went from a 4.2 to a 4.7. We tripled our Facebook presence and we tripled our calls. If you're an HVAC, plumbing, electric, landscaping company, and you're looking for a no BS approach to marketing, you're looking for people who have done it before, you got to go to leadhub.net